Zhongyang. Taiping District. This is the place where workers gather in Zhongyang City. Compared with other districts, the housing prices here are low and the transportation is very convenient. The fly in the ointment is that there are too many people here, and when it comes to the rush hour, the streets are crowded with black people. Like worker ants looking for honey, countless people swarmed out at one point. People are close to each other in this wave, but their hearts never communicate. There is only a strong sense of urgency on the street. Everyone is chasing something. Is being chased by something again. If there really is a god, then take a look at this Taiping district. This is a place where gods will suffer from intensive phobia. There are too many people who come to Zhongyang to wander, and too many people have no roots in this city and can only live in rental houses. Li Zongkai is one of the wandering members. A name that sounds like a joke. September 6th. 10 p.m. After a busy day, Li Zongkai dragged his tired body back to his rental house. Click. As soon as Li reopened, he quickly locked the door because he was renting with someone else. Actually, it can't be said that they are roommates sharing a house. The neighbors are more appropriate. Because the room types here have been changed, all the houses on the first floor have been changed. After the change, it is more like a hotel, everyone is independent of each other, but they are very close together. Is an apartment type house, but it is not as well decorated as an apartment type house. But fortunately, the rent is quite affordable. And the neighbors are not the mature landlords or the big stars that are often written in novels. There is only a social animal like him. Although it is not clear whether the other party is a man or a woman, Li Zongkai guessed that the other party is probably a boy. Although the two of them live together and are considered neighbors, they have never met each other. It took Li Zongkai to move in for a short time, just 2 weeks. The second came because every time the other party came back, he would reopen the door like Li and lock the door tightly. In this strange city, the behavior of two strangers is unexpectedly consistent. They are more concerned about how to protect themselves than the so-called neighborhood happiness in their fantasy. If the city is a dark forest, hiding yourself is their first rule of survival. However, Li Zongkai still guessed from the time spent getting along with him that the other party should be on the night shift, and the time just happened to be staggered with him. Click. Sure enough, as soon as Li Zongkai closed the door of the house, the other party was very tacitly ready to go out to work. Hearing the familiar clicking sound, Li Zongkai couldn't help but smile. He didn't laugh at anything else, but in this silent click, he seemed to have found a confidant. It really makes him a little happy to have such a tacit neighbor. In this reality as hard as iron and as cold as ice, empathy between people is always very rare and worth cherishing. That's it. It's finished with the click sound today, swipe the phone and get ready to go to bed. Li reopened and slapped his cheeks to clear his mind. Lay on the bed and took out his mobile phone, and skillfully opened some social platforms. Soon, he was attracted by a question from some. How do you evaluate the recently popular web game Life Restart Simulator? What kind of life have you played? Restart the simulator in life? Li reopened for a while, feeling that the name seemed a bit familiar. It seems that Sister Zhao, who is working next to her, is still playing during the day. That said, this game seems to be really hot. The popularity has also reached some of the top 5 rankings. Li reopened and opened the first answer. The first answer seems to be the creator himself. Although the traffic is close to 200 million and the players are 4 million, we have not received a penny at the moment. However, dozens of companies have come to us to discuss cooperation, and maybe they will authorize adaptation and so on. And it has been open-sourced, players can make a second creation at will. I'm going to review the exam on this. Li reopened, harp, and sighed again. Someone else made a big hit at a young age, and I still have to work every day, and I can go home at 10 o'clock in the evening. I feel sour. Li reopened with Lemon's thoughts, and then swiped down to answer. Question: many sand sculpture netizens have been sharing their own endings. There is an ordinary life course. There is a life path that starts to die suddenly. There is also a root of is this melon ripe? What's even more outrageous is that someone actually played the Wuzhen route. Even Li Zongkai saw someone posting the route of cultivation and magical girl. This aroused Li Kongkai's curiosity, and he felt as if someone was tickling it. He continued to swipe down anxiously, and finally saw an old man sending out the link. Li Zhong opened his phone and wiped the sweat from his hands with the corners of his clothes. Ready to go in and try it out. Click to open the link. Is a minimalist white web page with the words Life Restart Simulator written on it, and a string of small characters written on it. This doesn't want to stay for a second in life, ha ha ha, this author is very interesting. Li reopened Bungbu to live, and laughed. And there is a button below this sentence, which says Restart Now. The interface immediately showed a 10 draw. 10 consecutive draws. In the theme of reopening life, there is a kind of absurd feeling. Li Zongkai touched his chin and clicked the button. The interface is very simple, and 10 talents appeared immediately. You can choose 3 from 10 talents, and then you can start your life. I'm in a hurry, hurry up and reincarnate, don't need the initial attributes. 10 deaths but no life, Constitution 10. Fatty beauty, face value +2, physique 2. Under the rainbow, it is possible to associate with the same sex. Unsuccessful family luck, family status 2. Big forehead, face value 2, intelligence +2. Born disability, physique 2. Sufficiency, not short in height. Morning ceremony, happy +1 at the age of 18. UU reading www.uuganshu.com. Image management, at the age of 16 and 24, their appearance is +1. This is too broken. Li reopened, suddenly a face collapsed. Among the 10 talents, the first and last are blue talents, and the rest are all white talents. The first one is still a talent for pure work. He went shopping for a long time and commented on netizens. Many netizens are all orange talents. Why did he get his crotch when he got here? Forget it, just drive it quickly. He chose enough, morning ceremony and the blue talent image management. Only these 3 have no negative effects. Continue to adjust the initial attributes. 20 attribute points are available. Face value, 0 intelligence, 0 physique, 0 family, 0. Looking at the 4 attributes, Li Zongkai was entangled. The single attribute of these 4 attributes could only reach 10. He wants to fill his face and intelligence directly, after all, in reality he has no face or intelligence. Even if the people are not good looking, they are not smart yet. Oh. Li reopened and shook his head, unwilling to think about his trash life. Turned his head and studied the attribute value. There are only 20 free attribute points. If you don't have a physical fitness point, it is estimated that you will die immediately after birth. Damn it! Don't worry, I will balance the sect directly. Li reopened directly to 5 for everything. The attribute value becomes, face value, 5 intelligence, 5 physique, 5 family, 5 start the game. 0 years old, you were born as a boy. 1 year old, you were born in a city since childhood. 2 years old, you are seriously ill. A lot of money was spent at home. 3 years old, you go to an ordinary kindergarten. 4 years old, the food in the kindergarten is not delicious. 5 years old, I have learned to watch short videos at a young age. 7 years old, you went to an ordinary elementary school, and you were beaten by your parents for the first time because you wanted to play. 11 years old, you want to buy a new school uniform 1 size bigger again. But you will graduate soon, and these clothes will not last long. When you asked your parents for money, they hesitated a bit, but they still bought it for you. 12 years old, you entered an ordinary junior high school. 13 years old, you started to read online articles, and you still wrote secretly with your notebook. 14 years old, you accidentally opened your father's web disk and opened a new world. 15 years old, you were admitted to an ordinary high school. 16 years old, talent image management launch. 16 or 24 years old, the value of the face is +1. Someone in the class has a crush on you. 18 years old, talent mature ceremony launch. Happy +1 at 18 years old. At the end of the college entrance examination, you are admitted to a double non-undergraduate. 19 years old, in college, you keep your mobile phone in class. But most of the other students do too. 22 years old, become a hitman. 23 years old, you start a blind date. 24 years old, talent image management launch. 16 and 24 years old, the appearance value +1. With your good looks, you are very popular in blind dates, but unfortunately your family background is average, and the other party seems to mind this. 27 years old, you are married. 28 years old, the child is born. 33 years old, the scale of the airport in Wuhu City has ranked first in the world. 34 years old, house prices in Bengbu continue to rise. The state takes control. 35 years old, it is said that some people have found residence in ancient costumes in the mountains. The official announcement was filming a TV series. 36 years old, a major traffic accident occurred in the next city, causing dozens of casualties. 37 years old, an 8.0 magnitude earthquake occurred in a neighboring island country. 40 years old, you have some chronic diseases and need to continue taking medicine. 41 years old, a game company invested in the church and named Noah in the Bible as tomorrow. 42 years old, your appetite is getting smaller and smaller, and it feels like time is getting faster and faster. 50 years old, you feel that your body is getting worse and slower. 51 years old, I found a kind of magical red and white spotted mushroom somewhere, which can grow bigger when eaten. 65 years old, you feel that you are getting older and faster, and your appearance is not good. 66 years old, the latest news report, there may be superpowers in this world. 83 years old, the lover passed away. 84 years old, you suddenly died of cardiovascular disease. You are dead. Life summary, the overall rating is 96 excellent. You can choose a talent, and you can get it in your next life. Image management, enough. Mature ceremony, hey. Li Zongkai didn't know what to say. Although this is just a text-based game, the process of text description is too real, and many things he did personally made him a little embarrassed, and even wanted to do it again. Ding! As he was gearing up, the phone reminded him to sleep. It's late. Li Zongkai looked at the time regretfully. In fact, he is also used to this kind of life. As a worker, Li Zongkai knows the importance of his body. Even if you don't have time for entertainment, you must sleep honestly, and you must not leave your exhaustion until the next day. Chosen image management at random, and Li Zongkai went to wash up. Pada, the light was extinguished. Good night, duck, my life. Li Zongkai smiled and said good night. Into the night. The life restart simulator on the phone screen suddenly began to flicker inexplicably, emitting a magical light. Just a moment, the light poured into Li Zongkai's body. The world seems to have undergone wonderful changes. Install games, detecting player dreams. Players have no dreams, please enjoy your reopening life. Zhongyang, Taiping District. Early the next morning, Li Zongkai woke up ignorantly. He had a dream yesterday, an extremely real dream. In his dream, he went through an ordinary life, from his birth to his death at the age of 84, with clear logic and clear organization. Every detail is printed in his mind. Even when his parents named him, he can keep it in mind. And in the dream, he also called Li Zongkai. What would you say to give your child a name? Li reopen. Li Kongkai. It's not Li Kongkai, it's Li Zongkai. Open happily. Li reopened and patted his head, as if he had experienced a hangover in his head. He seemed to have vaguely heard that some talent had been activated while he was sleeping. It seems that some kind of talent image management was launched. He is 24 years old and meets the conditions. So the face value will be +1. Add it once at the age of 16 and add it again at the age of 24, so a total of 2 points are added. Thinking of this, Li Kongkai couldn't help but smiled. It's not that I just thought about the broken game in my mind last night, and had such a real dream. He is tired every day. After Yu reads www.yuyugonshu.com back, he can fall asleep basically with his pillow. How many times have you dreamed? Not to mention such a real dream. Never mind, wash up. Go to work. Work as a worker. Li reopened and got up with difficulty, and walked to the mirror. As soon as he looked in the mirror, Li Zongkai was a little surprised. Is this me? Li Zongkai looked at himself in the mirror in a staggered way. Li reopened and immediately pinched his face, trying to verify if it was true. Indeed, it's me. This nose. This eyes. The exact same thing looks so pleasing to the eye than before. Stared carefully for a while, feeling that his face was fine-tuned, and the slight changes made the whole person look better. My previous self, my nose was a bit collapsed and I liked to get oily, and my face was also prone to acne. But now, the nose is more prominent, the facial features are more three-dimensional, the eyes are better looking, and the acne has disappeared. Is just a few minor changes, the whole person looks better. Are the dreams I dreamed real? Li reopened his thoughts in confusion, but the movements of his hands did not stop in the slightest. He wore clothes mechanically, forming a physical memory. While brushing his teeth with toothpaste, he listened to see if there was a clicking sound next door. Prepare for the habit just formed in the past 2 weeks. Click every day. Hey? Strange. Why is there no sound today? Do you have to work overtime during the night shift? Li Zongkai said vaguely while brushing his teeth. Look at the time. Broke in. I just patronized and admired myself. This is full of people without going to the subway. Li reopened and hurriedly packed his things in a panic. He hurried to the company. September 7th. Xingfu Street Office Building, Taiping District. Ho. Li Zongkai panted, hurriedly swiping the card on the attendance machine. Finally caught up, but fortunately not late. After signing in, Li Zongkai slowly breathed a sigh of relief. If he didn't sign in, he would have to deduct a lot of money. Put the bag on his workstation, turned it on, and sat down. During this time, while the boss was not here, he could still touch the fish for a while. Good morning, Xiao Li. Sister Zhao on the side saw Li reopening and said hello. Li reopened and replied, Morning, Sister Zhao. Sister Zhao's workstation is very close to him, just separated by a baffle. Li Zongkai suddenly remembered something, and got up to ask Sister Zhao tentatively, Can Sister Zhao send me a copy of the game you played yesterday? Game. Sister Zhao was taken aback, and then smiled awkwardly, Okay, isn't it 2048? Don't tell the boss that I'm fishing. Li reopened a surprised look at Sister Zhao, and said, It's not 2048, I'm talking about that. What is the name of reopening the simulator? Ah? What's that? What's fun? Sister Zhao got excited when she heard that there was another game to kill time. Do not know? How can I not know? Did you play for a day yesterday? And I still remember it was on some hot search. Li reopened and hurriedly opened some and checked it. No. Search again on the search engine. Still none. What about other sites? Actually there is none. Disappeared? That game completely disappeared? Li reopened and froze in place. Sister Zhao was a little curious, and pushed Li with her hands to reopen. What kind of game is it? Li Zongkai was pushed by her, and he immediately recovered his mind, and said in a whisper, I slept well last night. I dreamed that I made a fortune from playing games. In my dream, you helped me try the game. Sister Zhao felt bored, and glanced at him with white eyes. Then she was a little surprised, and then looked at Li Zongkai carefully. Did you put on makeup? Why are you doing this today? Her face was slightly red, and she was embarrassed to say the word handsome. Usually, I can ridicule Li Zongkai's looks so handsome, but that's because Li Zongkai's appearance is average. After Li Zongkai became really handsome, she was rather timid, and she was not embarrassed to tease casually. Li Zhong laughed, and casually made up a reason, sleep well, the spirit is up. Sister Zhao curled her lips, obviously not believing, and muttered a few words in a low voice, why sleep? You can dream and make a fortune, and you can look good. Without letting her think about it, Brother Lu from the workstation next door came. Oh, you are so handsome today. Lu Ji happily greeted him as soon as he saw Li Zongkai. Don't guess. That must be a rest, this man. He has a good rest and his mental outlook is good. Have a look. Have a look. What is the resonance of straight men? Li reopened and nodded excitedly. Sister Zhao covered her forehead, she didn't know how to describe her feelings anymore. Is too ridiculous. Brother Lu looked around for a while, and said sneakily, the boss didn't come, right? He stepped in today. Sister Zhao waved her hand, don't worry. Don't worry. He can't get up so early. It's good if I didn't come. Lu Ji suddenly put down the stone in his heart, and then began to complain about the boss. Do you tell me whether our boss smells SB? Every day, I don't do anything serious in the company. Clean up those high-rise buildings, and study the organizational chart of his company as a whole. You said he always cares about the B stuff. I will learn from the 4 great war zones of the Fortune newspaper factory for a while, and I will learn from the chrysanthemum and the iron triangle for a while, and give our company an organization chart that is exactly the same as the TM Geese migration chart. It will be a word for a while, and a personal word for a while. Sister Zhao suddenly laughed, and she kept smiling. Brother Lu is more and more addicted. Recently he started to dream about wolf culture again. Starting to do something at the end of the company, and expelling a few employees who performed poorly every month. Where is the wolf culture? Isn't this a werewolf killing? Ha 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 ha. At this moment, Li Zongkai also lived in Bengbu, and then laughed out loud. Brother Lu gradually got excited, rolled up his sleeves, and prepared to start his speech. Wolves want to eat meat. What is going on forcing us to eat all day long? Which company group have you seen that TM asks employees to pay for it? Are there crowdfunding? You can just do a fight, everyone fight for it, and then cut a knife. Every day there is nothing to do, we have to hold that swearing ceremony for us. Give us BB when you come up. At this point, Brother Lu is getting better and started to imitate the boss with both hands and feet. Ahem. Brother Lu cleared his throat, learning the boss's tone. Let me say a few words to everyone that's not forcing everyone to work overtime, right? Right. My daughter asks me every day, Dad, you are so busy every day and you don't have time to accompany me. I told my daughter that my father is so busy every day to create a better life for you. You guys are right? Right. After Brother Lu imitated, he immediately slapped the table. I'm right to Nima. Labor and management work so hard to create a better life for your daughter, right? If I work hard for 2 more years, your whole family can get a Ferrari, right? Brother Lu drank saliva to moisturize his throat. He used this broken story for several years, and I thought her daughter was going to kindergarten. Later I learned that her daughter is as big as you reopened. Good fellow. Is two alike, two alike? Li reopened and couldn't help but smile. This imitated too much. Brother Lu looked at Li Zongkai and said, "So, my boss is like this. It's better to do your resignation as soon as possible. It's easy to wear small shoes when you stay here. Are you leaving?" Sister Zhao exclaimed. She looked at Li reopening incredulously. Li Zongkai wanted to quit very early, and he has been working here for almost 2 years. I dare not say that I am the hardest, but it's almost the same. But wages have not risen. There is no alternative but to find another way out. Li Zongkai said, "It's okay. I said that I was leaving the job a few days ago. As a result, as soon as the resignation application was submitted, the boss said that he would give me a salary increase, and I stayed again. Hey! You might as well leave your job. You have committed a big taboo in the workplace," Sister Zhao said with a punch. Talked about resignation, but when the boss raised his salary, he didn't leave. This is the workplace taboo. I will raise your salary first and hold you steady. Then find someone to replace you immediately. This is pretty good. Some bosses will even wait for your business to be cleaned up before letting you do work far beyond your ability. You think this is reusing you, but in fact it is to deliberately pick your faults, and then run on you in various ways and wear small shoes. If you can't stand your own resignation, if you are dismissed, you will be labeled as inadequate. A little too much will deliberately make you make mistakes, and then say that you have caused huge losses to the company. In this way, the next job will also be affected. Sister Zhao hates that iron can't make steel. You have been working for 2 years. You can be regarded as an old fritters. How can you reading www.yuyuganshu.com not understand this point? Li's efforts to reopen, Zhao Ji can see. Without Li Zongkai, she wouldn't be able to play games and fish from time to time. Before, she read the news and said that a company fired half of its people, but the company had no problems at all, and the efficiency was much higher. She is the one who fished in the company. It's the same if she has her in the company, but Li Zongkai is not. If Li Kongkai left suddenly, the few remaining people would be in a hurry for a while. It's a pity that Li reopened his mouth too stupidly. People who don't bend over, but do things with their heads down, won't work in the workplace. Li reopened and fiddled with the water glass on the table, silently. Why doesn't he understand? It is probably that the company has sunk too much cost, and is no longer willing to give up this job easily. So when the boss said he was going to raise his salary, he agreed without even thinking about it. He smiled happily, "Don't worry. I have been in the company for 2 years after all, the boss will not treat me like this, I believe him." Sister Zhao sighed. Sometimes, it's really not that people are stupid, but they are too simple and willing to trust others. Stop talking. The boss is here. The boss is here. Brother Lu hurriedly shouted at the two of them. Sister Zhao glanced at him. The person who was chattering about the boss just now sat up right after the boss came. If Li Zongkai had half of Brother Lu, he wouldn't even have a salary increase. Boom! Boom! The boss came over and buckled the table with his knuckles. Quiet! Quiet! Come to the meeting room later. Let's have a swearing ceremony. Meeting room. The boss spoke impassionedly above, behind which is a picture of the migrating geese. Li Zongkai, Lu Ji, and others are sitting down below. My daughter asks me every day, "Dad, you are so busy every day and you don't have time to accompany me." I told my daughter that my father is so busy every day to create a better life for you. Everyone said, "Right. Right." After the boss finished speaking, he seemed to be a little thirsty. He moistened his throat after drinking a glass of water. "Papa." "Yes. That's right." Brother Lu stood up and applauded, his expression very excited. "I have always wanted to learn from Mr. Shen's work attitude, that is, the Gu family loves every employee of our company. Let's do it. I represent our team." Our team will strictly follow the leadership arrangements in the coming days. Give our company. Give us President Shen. Submit a satisfactory answer sheet. Sister Zhao curled her lips on the side, and whispered, just you can say it. I don't do anything serious, but I basically lost everything to Li to reopen. Are you embarrassed to represent our team? I bother. Ha ha ha, look at Xiao Liu's enlightenment. Everyone should learn more from him. Mr. Shen smiled. Oh. That's right. Introduce a new comrade, Comrade Lin Shantaing, this year's Zhongyang University graduates, and will be one of us in the future. Welcome everyone. You must have seen it all. After all, he followed Xiao Lu as an intern yesterday afternoon. Everyone applauded for the face. Lin Shanting also greeted everyone in a timely manner, and briefly introduced himself. Mr. Shen turned his head and said to Li Zongkai, reopen. I did not think well some time ago, so let me transfer Shantaing to your team. From now on, you will be the team leader. Li Zongkai looked at him calmly, thank you, Mr. Shen. Since you are the team leader, you can't do the trivial things. Free up your work, and you can just exercise the newcomers. Mr. Shen patted Li Zongkai on the shoulder and said, you should give yourself a vacation, haha. Then he laughed and scolded again, but I don't want you to rest all the time. I will be responsible for that. Once the boss finished speaking, Lin Shantaing immediately looked at Li reopened with envy. Sister Zhao frowned. This is the same as she thought before. This is clearly rising and falling, and Li must be reopened. Li reopened and remained silent for a long time. Finally said, listen to your boss's arrangements. It was he who made a mistake. He should leave immediately when he mentioned his resignation and should not stay. The workplace will not sympathize with people like him. It's just a pity, I really thought it would be reused at first, and I also thought that the boss finally saw my value. My long-term efforts have finally paid off, even rejected a higher paying job for this. Life has taught me another lesson. Li reopened and then laughed again, no matter what, he still had to stand on his last post. Come on, newcomer. I will try to teach you everything I know. Thank you brother Li. Lin Shantaing nodded excitedly. 5 p.m. Lin Shantaing's face collapsed, he didn't expect that Li Ji would do so much work. This is too ridiculous. Did you get on the thief ship? He watched that brother Lu next to him has been watching the live broadcast of the horror anchor. Haven't worked. And the boss left after eating at noon, and there was no person in sight at all. Li reopened and shook his head. Because of the need to bring new people, he slowed down the progress of his work. There are many tasks planned to be completed today that have not yet been completed. All right. Come here today. You are an intern, you can go back early. I have to work overtime and will not send you off. Lin Shanting suddenly felt relieved. Okay, brother, you are busy first, I will withdraw first. Li Zongkai echoed softly, still immersed in his work. Seeing that the newcomer had left, brother Lu hurried up to greet Li Zongkai. Reopen. Go. Let's go home. The work is not finished yet. Hey. Brother Lu sighed, yesterday the company worked overtime alone by yourself. Are you still thinking about working overtime today? It's okay to get off work a few hours earlier. Besides, then, you can see what the boss meant, and do it for him if it's all like this. Li reopened and was stunned, he had never thought about these things. It's just that work has become accustomed to him. Okay. Then I get off work. That's right. Happiness Community. There are 4 or 5 police cars parked downstairs. Is still surrounded by a group of people. People are always enthusiastic when eating melons. What do you say is this? Why are there so many police officers? I heard that this building is dead. Dead again. What's it called again? Someone died here. One died a while ago. About a few weeks ago. It is said that the users on that floor had nightmares at that time. This building was almost moved 2 weeks ago, and now there are not many people living. Li Zongkai was sent all the way to Xingfu community by Brother Lu. Brother Lu, I really don't need to give it away, I really don't have to give it away. The front is my house. Li Zhong said with a smile. Is this your home? Brother Lu said with a weird expression. That's right. That building 404 is. Li Zongkai pointed to a building in the happy community. This finger doesn't matter. Li Zongkai immediately found a crowd of people there, and there were 4 or 5 police cars parked downstairs. Li Zongkai was slightly confused. Strange. Why are there so many people around there? Brother Lu, let's not talk about it. I'll go see what happened to my house. Brother Lu narrowed his eyes, leaving only a gap, watching Li reopen, opening his mouth. Go ahead. Let's give way. Let's give way. Li Zongkai pushed a group of people eating melons away and squeezed in with difficulty. Quickly go upstairs and see what's going on. Will not be a thief in your own house, right? The young policeman on the side of immediately stopped Li from reopening. The case is being handled in front, don't destroy the scene of the crime. That, my house is right in front of you. As soon as he said this, the young policeman's face immediately became weird. No 404. Right. Li reopen. Yes. The young policeman immediately took out the intercom on his chest and reported to the captain. Report to the captain. The suspect has gone upstairs. No? Damn it. Am I a suspect? Li was shocked when he reopened. He immediately shouted, I am not a suspect. I am just a hitman. It's just a suspect, and it's not that you did this thing. Come in with me. Newcomer police officer Li Malachi Li Zhong drove into the house. During the process, he was afraid that Li Zongkai would violently injure people, so he was always cautious. Entered the house. Team Tian, people are here. Team Tian nodded. Hasn't waited for him to speak. The landlord beside immediately screamed, yes. The police is him. He is Li Zongkai. The murderer must be him. Then the landlord was a little bit confused. In her impression, Li Zongkai didn't seem so handsome. The Tian team frowned, and it hasn't reached a conclusion yet. The landlord is pulling their case handlers back. Sorry. I called you here just to find out the situation. Where did Li Zongkai have seen this kind of battle, and nodded hurriedly. Yu reading www.yuuganju.com. Do you know Miss Shen Lingzhen? Team Tian took out a picture of a lively and cheerful girl. I don't know. Li Zongkai took a closer look, confirmed that he didn't know him, and immediately shook his head. The landlord screamed again, he lied. He must know Shen Lingzhen. Li reopened, suddenly a little angry, he didn't know Shen Lingzhen in the first place. And since he came in, the landlord has been identifying him. The mud bodhisattva still has 3 points of anger. Li reopened with a sneer, I'm so anxious to point me out. I don't think you did it, right? Where is it? You fart. The landlord's eyes suddenly dodged. Fuck, it really has something to do with this guy. Tian team is very patient, you think about it, do you really don't know Miss Shen Lingzhen? She is your neighbor? Haven't you seen it even once? Neighbor? That clicking sound? The night shift? She actually died? No wonder I didn't hear the click of the door opening this morning. I moved in less than 2 weeks ago, and I have never seen each other at all. The landlord snorted coldly, humph. Everyone is dead. Whatever you say is fine. You are not finished, right? Li Zongkai shouted angrily. The landlord cringed a little, and then struck his neck and said, originally, you two live on this floor. Didn't you do it, or who did it? When she said this, Li Zongkai suddenly realized the seriousness of the problem. This building is already old, there are few floors in total. Let alone monitoring, there is not even an elevator. If I let myself think about it, then I must be the most suspicious. So, the murderer was me? My company is monitored. I have been at work today. Both the boss and colleagues can prove it. Li Zongkai said excitedly. The landlord curled his lips. What about you yesterday? I was the corpse found in the ward round at 8 this morning. You were at work today. How about yesterday? Li reopened and took a sip. Your sister, you can make a round without notice to us. I have to put away the valuables next time. And it was not Sunday yesterday. He went to work today and he was at work yesterday. This landlord is just looking for fault, there must be a ghost in his heart. Team Team Tian. A young policeman walked over from the house and said to him, the family of the deceased is here. Where is my daughter? Where is my daughter? A middle-aged man with a big belly rushed in quickly, his face full of anxiety. Tian Team sighed and patted him on the shoulder, sorry. When the middle-aged man heard this, he almost did not come up with a breath, and fell to his knees with a plop. President Shen. Li Zongkai looked at the collapsed middle-aged man in surprise. Isn't this his boss? Mr. Shen's emotions were not relieved, he looked up and saw Li Zongkai, and said in surprise, why are you here? Li reopened and smiled awkwardly. Can't you say that I'm the suspect who killed your daughter right now? The landlord didn't think it was too much trouble to watch the excitement, so she immediately added. Hey, he is your daughter's neighbor, but only 2 of them live on this floor. I don't know who the murderer is. It's a pity that such a beautiful girl. When President Shen heard this, his eyes were red, and he stepped forward and grabbed Li reopened, and roared, because of a resignation incident. You have murdered my daughter. How can you do it? You are still a person. As soon as these words came out, the Tian Team and other police officers immediately turned their eyes to Li Zongkai. In fact, they didn't really doubt him before. After all, they haven't found any valid evidence yet, the death report hasn't come out, and the murder weapon hasn't been found. There is no need to be so arbitrary. It's just the landlord who is screaming here alone. It's all right now, and his motive for murder has come out. Li reopened and closed his eyes speechlessly. As soon as he saw Mr. Shen just now, he knew it all. The motive for the murder. It's a coincidence that I have been in conflict with the company recently. This is really bad luck to catch up. You are a daughter, you are not living at home. Are you sick when you run out to rent a house? The landlord beside smiled and split her mouth. At this moment, she thought she was possessed by a detective. She pointed a quasar. Can't help crying frantically next to me. Look. Look. Police. I'll just say it's him. The team rubbed his temples in pain. Since this person reported the case in the morning, he has stayed here, chattering all the time, and his ears are almost out of calluses. If it weren't for her, I would have blasted her out. He turned his head and asked the person who was collecting evidence, okay, why are you so slow today? He didn't want to urge him either, it was really annoying for the landlord next to him. The criminal technical policeman who was taking the picture smiled helplessly, no way, it's too messy to be turned over here. You can't move everything, it adds a lot of difficulty out of thin air. But it's almost the same, all the evidence that should be collected is preserved. I don't know what the murderer is looking for. The bed is almost overturned. When my colleague said that the collection was almost done, the Tian team took a sigh of relief, and finally it was liberated, and there was no need to listen to her chattering aside. Tian team said to Li Zongkai, thank you to come with us temporarily, don't get me wrong, just investigate normally. Li reopened and looked around. The boss was looking at him with red eyes. He gritted his teeth and wanted to tear him alive. The landlord on the other side was gloating. She was still immersed in her perfect reasoning. Let's go. Li Zongkai knew that it was useless to say anything now. He can only go through what he has done clearly in his mind, clarify the logic, and then go to the police station and tell the truth. Can't let go of any details that can prove innocence. As soon as a few people got off the stairs, they found a bunch of people eating melons downstairs. The Tian team frowned. Let's give way, don't hinder the handling of the case. While talking, he carefully observed the surrounding people eating melons. The murderer is very likely to come to the scene of the crime again, maybe hiding in the crowd now. Hey, Team Tian, the death report is out. A young policeman was more excited. This was his first contact with a murder case. The time of death was about 4 to 8 p.m. yesterday afternoon. The Tian team glanced at him angrily. There are a lot of people here. Can you go back to the police station and say no? Li Zongkai next to was bright, and he had been working overtime yesterday afternoon. And it's overtime until around 9 o'clock in the evening. I didn't get home until 10 o'clock. And the company also has monitoring. I'm not suspicious anymore. And many more. Li reopened, his breathing suddenly stopped. If he remembered correctly, he was punching with a click sound last night. I went to play the life simulator after playing the card. The person who walked out of her room last night, who is it? Li reopened, the hairs all over his body burst. He couldn't help but exclaim to the Tian team, "Police officer, I have a clue." The Tian team glanced at him unexpectedly and looked around. Get in the car first. Go back and talk about it. The young policeman on the side couldn't bear it. What clue? Li reopened and hesitated, but this young policeman was also a policeman after all, and they couldn't help but reply. Someone came out of Shen Lingzhen's room at 10 o'clock last night. I was. The words are not finished yet. Pang! Gunshots came from the crowd eating melons. There was a gunshot, and Li reopened and fell to the ground. The young policeman had sharp eyes and rushed in the direction of the shot. The first reaction of the Tian team was to quickly turn around and help Li reopen. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. There is still gas. There is still gas. Call an ambulance. Li reopened his psychedelic eyes, his vision was a bit hazy. He felt that he could not hold on for too long. The exclamation of everyone, the sound of gunshots, and the roar of cars on the street gradually disappeared from his ears. Maybe the revolving lantern at the time of death. He suddenly remembered many things. Thought of what his parents expected of him as a college student before leaving the village. I thought of the confusion when I first left school. I thought of working so hard but nothing gained. It occurred to me that he had done nothing but was mistaken for the suspect by others. Maybe in this sleek world, I'm really not good at it. Suddenly, he recalled the dream he had had before. What would you say to give your child a name? Li reopen. Li Kongkai. It's not Li Kongkai, it's Li Zongkai. Open happily. I have not had a happy life. Is the name Bai Xia? If I come again, I must. Thinking about it, Li Zongkai finally couldn't stand it anymore, and slowly closed his eyes. He felt that he was pulled into a dark space for an instant. It was like a cylinder without air. Feels like a transitional zone, one side is the present world, the other side is a foreign land. Reopen now. Please choose a talent. What's going on? Li Zongkai looked around in surprise. Am I not dead? He seems to be standing on a dividing line, with the world on the left and the foreign land on the right. Please choose the talent. This is Life Restart Simulator. Li Zongkai looked at the interface in front of him. He tentatively called out 2 sentences, System? Wizard? Is there any novice counseling? No response. Hey! Li Zongkai shook his head disappointedly, looking like he could only study it by himself. There is also a mode switch in the lower right corner of this selection talent. Reopen, reopening reality game reopen. Is there any difference between the two? Li Zongkai thought. He looked around for any other buttons on the interface that could display information. Really let him find it. History information 1. At 10:32 on the night of September 6, the game was downloaded. 2. The game was activated at 3:24 am on September 7. 3. Detect the player's dream, and the player has no dream. 4. Check the player's wishes, and the player hopes that one day he can become a master through hard work. 5. Loading player game records, successfully loaded. Need to occupy one's quota. It has been successfully occupied, and the reopening quota on September 7 has been occupied. Reopen the limit. Li Zongkai stared at the interface carefully. Button quickly displayed the message. Reopen, September 6, is in use, category. September 7, already used, category. Acquired the talent image management. Does the game restart refer to the dream I had last night? Get talent? No wonder I wake up in the morning and feel my appearance has risen. In this way, you can only reopen once a day, and then you can choose a talent every time you reopen. The reopening of reality is not a rebirth, right? I used the September 6 quota. Will I be reborn until September 6th? Li reopened and fell into deep thought. If it were September 6, he might be able to prevent Shen Lingzhen from being killed. I am not a warm-hearted person, but since I have the ability to help, I still have to help. But even if you are reborn, you can't stop the gun. If the murderer shoots directly, I can't do anything. The player wishes detected, the talent table has been changed. I almost forgot. I still have talent to choose. Open the talent list. Human evolution, all attributes +1. Allure, happy +3 when the face value is greater than 10. Whitehead old age, the lover can live to at least 70 years old. Super evolution, when all attributes are greater than 5, all attributes +2. Diamond fitness card, physical fitness +3 when family background is greater than 10. Optimus Pi, happiness +1. High rise in the city, you were born in a city. Irshun, happy +2 at the age of 60. Peach blossom Lian, the chance of love is improved. Albinism, you will not be shot. Fuck. Li reopened and surprised. This time I'm lucky. 10 talents are all positive talents, completely different from the last time. I played on my mobile phone last time, so what are the things that I opened? Please choose 3 talents. Li reopened immediately and chose human evolution, super evolution and the special talent albinism. This albinism doesn't really have this disease. Li Zongkai still knows this. This talent is the same as the previous. I'm in a hurry. This talent is much better than other talents in Li Zongkai's eyes. Not afraid of firearms. This is simply a weapon of causality. Please check the attribute table. Face value, 10 intelligence, 8 constitution, 8 family status, 8 the highest. Every talent of ordinary people is 10. I'm so strong now. Reopen now. September 6th. Taiping District, Zhongyang City. Happiness Community. 404. Familiar ceiling. Li Zongkai lay on the bed and slowly opened his eyes. He got up from the bed and got dressed soon. I moved my body a little bit. Pang. Phew. The muscles on the body were clearly visible, and he flicked 2 fists at random and caused a gust of wind. If the average human physique 10 is full, Li reopens the current 8 is already the best. Because ordinary people can't reach 10 at all, the limit is 9. 9 is only the limit of specialized athletes, such as weightlifting. Their strength is likely to break through to 9, but their sprint and long-distance running ability is likely to be far inferior to their strength. But Li Zongkai is different. He can clearly perceive this body, whether it is strength or speed, it is in an extremely high field. And his reaction speed is also very fast, and his motor nerves are also very good, but I don't know if this is incidental to intelligence or physical. Clear your mind first. Lee reopened and sat down after a little movement. Make decisions and then move. Time is very precious. First decide what you want to do. The goal is to try our best to save Shen Lingzhen's life. If it can't be saved, she will give priority to maintaining her innocence. In fact, now I can directly find a place that is monitored and sit for a day to ensure my innocence. As long as he has confirmed his alibi, and then doesn't run to the scene of the crime, it's okay. But Li reopened and couldn't swallow this breath. After this rebirth, he has already looked away. He used to believe in hiding himself in the dark forest of the city, and don't be nosy. But things are always looking for him. It's better for him to take the initiative to find something now. Li reopened and rubbed his temples. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com wanted to recall the events of the past 2 days, in every detail. On the morning of September 6, I went to work normally. Sister Zhao played a day at the company, and brother Lu was watching the replay of the horror anchor. The boss was not there. In the afternoon, the boss returned to the company to confirm the business. I worked overtime until 9 o'clock in the evening, and the others left work early at 5 o'clock. When I went home at night, I heard the neighbor's clicking sound. At this time, it should be the murderer who came out of her house. And after that, I opened the Life Restart simulator and fell asleep after playing. Li reopened and closed his eyes, and continued to think. After his intelligence has risen, his intelligence may not have improved much, but his memory has indeed improved a lot. When I arrived at the scene the next day, it was very messy. The murderer should be looking for something. According to the police at the scene, the bed was almost overturned. It is very likely that it was not a deliberate disguise, but was really looking for it. The landlord has a problem. But it should not be the murderer. Only me and the deceased live on this floor. She does not need to call the police early the next morning, so that the time of death can be easily detected. The relationship between Mr. Shen and the deceased is also problematic. Obviously he is the boss of the company, but his daughter rents out the dilapidated community. Judging from the example of his usual swearing ceremony, he should love his daughter very much. The murderer shot at me among the melon-eating crowd. It was when I was about to tell the information. It is very likely that he thought I knew some evidence. But there is no reason. This is too impulsive. I can only analyze so much. I know too little. Li reopened and opened his eyes. Then start with the deceased first. Who is it? Neighbor. 404. Li Zhong chuckled. No matter how you investigate, it is definitely not as convenient as to ask the deceased directly. Click. The door opened. But it didn't fully open, only a slit was opened. The chain of the door is still stuck. In this broken community, there is not even a cat's eye on the door. The chain-like lock was pulled open with the strength of Li reopening it with a little effort. Speaking of it, not only the physique, but also the appearance value has broken through to 10. Shen Lingzhen glanced at Li reopened through the crack in the door. Felt amazing as soon as he caught the eye, with thin cheeks and straight eyebrows. The most important thing is that he seems to have an inexplicable appeal, giving people a very natural feeling. She wanted to be close to him by nature. When he smiled, Shen Ling couldn't help but also wanted to laugh. Are you Click? Click. Shen Lingzhen blinked. She has also moved here for almost 2 weeks. Due to work reasons, she goes out at night every day. After a few times, she noticed that the work and rest of her and neighbors were almost the opposite. And every time the neighbor goes home, he will lock the door firmly, and there will be a clicking sound. Gradually, she got used to it. Every day, she listened to the click of neighbors to clock in, so that she knew it was time to work. She believes in going out, so you must hide yourself. As long as they don't look for things, things will definitely not come to her. But she was also a little puzzled. The neighbor should be someone with a personality similar to her. How could she suddenly come to visit her? You must know that even if you are a neighbor, you will never open the door to a stranger. This is her life creed. Will never open. Definitely not. Li reopened with a faint smile, he just wanted to explain to Shen Lingzhen. Click, the chain on the door lock was opened by Shen Lingzhen herself. The door opened. Hey? Is this Shen Lingzhen so easy to talk about? But Li Zongkai didn't think much about it. Since the other party opened the door, he just went in directly. Shen Ling covered her forehead with her heart. Help! She didn't want to open the door, but Li smiled again, and she couldn't help but raise the corner of her mouth. Subconsciously opened the door lock. Ahem! My dad will come to see me later. That! Shen Lingzhen hinted to Li Zongkai. After all, lonely man, be careful. Tell the other party first that someone will come to your home later. I thought about Shen Ling's heart and glanced at him again. Well, it doesn't look like a bad person, it should be fine. Take another look. Li reopened and looked around Shen Lingzhen's room, and said, it's okay. I know your dad. Shen Lingzhen's room would be quite clean if it weren't that messy. Yes, it is like that. The room is full of old objects that I don't know where they got from. Some of them are still covered with soil, as if they were just dug out. Do you know my dad? Shen Ling was a little surprised. Yes. Work for your dad. Li Zongkai said. After finished speaking, he suddenly woke up again, saying that, would the other party feel that he came to her for a purpose? He hurriedly added, but I was leaving a while ago. Shen Ling listened to her heart, and she slapped her legs happily. Good divorce. Never work for that ugly capitalist. Leave quickly. Then go to his competitor. It's better to get his company to be pornographic for me. Li reopened. Filial piety me. Li reopened while fiddling with the old objects in the house. Pretended to ask casually, are you having such a bad relationship with your dad? Asked abruptly, without any verbal skills. But no problem, he is handsome. Shen Ling's heart fell silent for a while, and it took a while before she slowly said, my mother died early. She passed away when I was about 7 or 8 years old. At that time, my family didn't have a lot of money and couldn't afford to be ill. So she just left. Maybe I have had enough and no money. After that, my dad went crazy to work and earn money, and gradually didn't spend much time with me, but I felt quite happy. At least I know that my dad still loves my mom and still loves me. Either working hard or making money is a tool for him to paralyze himself. I still understand him. I have always been obedient, study hard, and don't mess with him. Because I know that my mother and I may be the driving force for him to live. But later, I had a new mother. I can't understand him anymore. He is no longer working hard for my mother, nor is he working hard for me. His future life will be for another woman, another child. His home has grown bigger, and my mother and I are no longer necessary for him. Shen Ling said calmly, sitting on the sofa with her hands around her knees. She has her own house now, which is convenient and cheap to work. Although it is rented, it is also her home. She understood it a long time ago, no matter how much she liked it, it will be the same over time. No one is really inseparable from anyone, and no one is really needed. Li reopened and kept his head silent. This is the other party's family affair, and it has nothing to do with him. He came to investigate the cause of Shen Ling's death, and he didn't care much about other things. But Li Zongkai solved some doubts. No wonder Mr. Shen always cites some examples of his daughter when he was young, and everyone in the company thought his daughter was young. If it weren't for Lu Ji's mouth, Li Zongkai probably wouldn't know until now. It turns out that there is still this story. That's right. Speaking of which, Don't you wonder what I do? Shen Ling changed the subject. You reading www.yuyuganshu.com. I can't guess. Since the other party wanted to change the subject, Li Zongkai naturally cooperated with her. Guess it. Shen Lingzhen embraced her arms, holding up her proud chest. I go out every night. Li Zongkai looked at the old objects on the ground, and curiously said, digging the grave. You just robbed the grave? Seeing that the other party didn't put on the set, Shen Ling's heart would not be concave. Actually, it's almost the same. I'm unsure. Li reopened uninterestedly and continued to fiddle with the old objects. You might as well go back and say it's fun. Ahem, I am an anchor of the night horror adventure type. Sounds pretty hardcore. Li reopened the stick and read. That's. Shen Ling straightened her chest proudly. I'm different from those who scratch their heads. Li reopened his eyes and was immediately attracted by the gravity of the ball involuntarily. Newton really did not deceive me. So what is the use of these things on the ground? Props. As a horror and adventure anchor, I naturally need some rewards to stimulate the audience. Just like upgrading equipment from Digwai, I unintentionally found some interesting old objects after exploring a place to arouse the audience's interest. The co-authors are all fakes. Not all. Shen Ling smiled awkwardly. In order to save her image, she did not know from which corner she took out a small box. This was found in the basement of our apartment. Don't you say it, it's densely packed with charms. It looks like the real thing. The basement of the apartment? Li Zongkai asked strangely. Shen Lingzhen nodded. I often go to explore there. Our basement is so gloomy. Every time the audience in my live broadcast room sees it, they think it's a situation I specially set up. They all knew that I was fake, but they just saw my live broadcast as a novel. This box was taken out of the basement a few days ago. It's really gloomy. The live broadcast effect was good at the time. I'm still popular. Li reopened and looked a little weird. I don't know why, he sounds like Shen Lingzhen's experience is too much like the beginning of some horror movies. The ignorant anchor opened the dusty seal for exploration and greed. Was sent by all the members of the monster in the seal. This is the box. Shen Lingzhen handed the box to Li Zongkai. The box is very simple and looks like it has gone through a long time. But not so delicate. It is probably believed that this is a lunch box left over from modern times. As soon as Li reopened and touched the box, a reminder sounded in his mind. Mysterious little box, can only be opened at the age of 100. It has been set as a permanent talent this. Li was a little shocked when he reopened. This box may be really mysterious to others. But to him, this thing is really not something mysterious. Because this is the opening item of the Immortal Root of Life reopening simulator. Li Zongkai was very impressed. When he visited something, it was because someone posted a screenshot of Xiaoxian that he wanted to get into the pit. So, if anyone knows that this box is extraordinary. Could this be the direct cause of Shen Ling's death? Did you broadcast the whole process of getting this box? Li Zongkai asked anxiously. Shen Ling felt a little bit at a loss. Yet. I was originally an anchor. That was my working time at that time. No wonder. No wonder. Now, Li Zongkai understands everything. No wonder the room was turned over so messy. The other party is probably looking for this box. It's just that, this box is useless for Li reopening. He already had this talent. As soon as he touched this box, he could open it by himself as long as he was 100 years old. Hiss, 100 years old. I don't know if I can practice when I reach 100 years old when the game is reopened. Can I keep this box for a while? Li Zongkai said to Shen Lingzhen. Shen Lingzhen looked at the box hesitantly. She actually wanted to return this thing to its original place. She always felt that she might have accidentally broken some strange seal. After all, the charms posted on this box at the time looked quite bluffing. According to her living creed, she still doesn't want to take risks. Never take a risk. She gritted her teeth and said, "It's okay, but you can. But after you play for a while, you must put things back in the basement." In the end, beauty defeated reason. She hurriedly added, "And I tried it too. This thing won't open at all." Li reopened and smiled slightly, "You definitely can't open it. This thing cannot be opened until it is 100 years old. How many people in this world can live to be 100 years old? But since this box really exists, can it also show that there are also immortal cultivators in this world? Is almost two." Shen Lingzhen said almost everything Li reopened to know. Unexpectedly, she is such a talkative person. "Thank you for the hospitality. Take a break. I will visit again later." Li reopened and got ready to leave. Shen Ling smiled, "Welcome anytime." "Oh right. Didn't you say that your dad will come to see you?" Li Zongkai asked before leaving. Shen Ling clasped her hands awkwardly, and said, "That was actually made up by me. My dad knows my temper, so he won't take the initiative to provoke me. I just talked a few words, maybe it's because Li Zongkai looks like a good guy." Shen Lingzhen hardly defended him, she simply told the truth. Li went back to his room and meditated for a while after driving away. He asked Mr. Shen specifically just now, just to see if the murderer was Mr. Shen. But it seems unlikely now. Is another person, very suspicious. Li reopened and couldn't believe it would be him. As for why we exclude strangers from committing crimes, naturally, there is a reason. Just now, he also watched Shen Lingzhen's live broadcast. Shen Lingzhen is very smart. Although is an anchor, it is hidden really well. Except for his looks, there are almost no details in the video that reveal his identity and address. What's even more outrageous is that the only few outdoor live broadcasts were conducted in other cities. The water friend in the live broadcast room has also been unable to guess where she is from. According to Li Zongkai's analysis of her personality, it is very likely that the other party did not take a plane or train. Because there are too many people, it is easy to reveal the city where you really are. It is estimated that she drove her father's private car. Even if she occasionally broadcasts live in the basement, it is difficult to expose. The main reason is that the basement here is so gloomy that no one wants to come. Li Zongkai once wanted to use the basement, but finally gave up. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. The basement here looks like a gloomy prison, with one room next to each other. In addition, she is a small anchor herself, and she is very good at making videos. Shen Ling's heart is mystery box. This series of videos has been watered for several days, and she has a stale appetite. She didn't take out the box until yesterday. Can find and kill Shen Lingzhen under such harsh conditions. Is probably someone who knew him, and at least lived in the same city. Thinking of this, Li Zhong was also happy. Immediately left for Rongsheng Community. Rongsheng Community is next door to Xingfu Community. It's just that the conditions are much better than those in the Happy Community. Is just across the street, the house price is very different. This is where the landlord lives. Open the door. Check the water meter. This time Li reopened, he didn't have the patience to treat Shen Lingzhen. At that time, the landlord kept running on him, but he remembered it clearly. Who? Who? The landlord put on a mask and opened the door. As soon as I opened the door, I saw a handsome guy standing in front of the door. She subconsciously clamped, tightened her abdomen, and kept herself in a relatively good posture. A closer look, this handsome guy seems a bit familiar. Seems to be his tenant Li Zongkai? Is Li Zongkai so handsome? Have you had a facelift? This is? The landlord was in a daze. Seems to be corrected in an instant. Li Zongkai seems to be very handsome from the beginning. I remembered it wrong, because he had a low sense of existence before, so I remembered it wrong. Why are you looking for me? The landlord gave Li Zongkai a puzzled look. I don't know if it's Li Zongkai's illusion. After he looks good, the landlord seems to be kind to him. I want to ask, do you know this box? It's in the basement of our apartment. Li Zongkai was too lazy to say something else, and took out the box straight away. Anyway, the talent has been activated, and this box is of no use to him. The only meaning of this box at the moment is to put it back into the basement after a while. The landlord's face suddenly became horrified. You put this thing back soon. It will kill you. Li reopened and pulled the door open. So can I get in now? The landlord hesitated for a moment, then sighed, come in. Entered the room. There are no slippers on the floor, except for the pair on the landlord's feet. Almost all of the remaining slippers are in the shoe cabinet. The spare slippers in the shoe cabinet are also very bright in color, almost the same color as the high heels in the shoe cabinet. It seems that only the landlord lives here. There is no dust on the spare slippers. Either the landlord loves to be clean, or there have been guests recently. Li reopened consciously to put on slippers and walked into the living room. The decoration style of the living room is quite simple. The wall is next to the sofa behind the sofa, and the color on the wall is mostly Morandi. In the middle of the wall are rows of embedded bookshelves. The bookshelves are full. Agatha Christie and the Quinn brothers, Paul Holt, Conan Doyle, even Kigo Higashino and Kotaro Isaka. You're quite unscrupulous. Li Zongkai said. Li Zongkai noticed that in addition to mystery novels, there are many weird horror novels and Buddhist scriptures. What is the ingredient of this product? Believing in ghosts and gods while watching the reasoning, you have a good hand. The landlord frowned, seemed to be thinking about something, and did not respond to Li Zongkai's words. If she pays so much attention to her bookshelf when visiting guests at home, she will inevitably have to add a few sentences. After all, besides satisfying the desire to collect, the bookshelf is for others to see. If you can't share, isn't it just Jinyi Yexing? Li didn't care when he reopened, he continued to look at the objects in the living room. There is an ashtray on the table. And it is still an old ashtray, with traces of being cleaned. Li Zongkai silently wrote down the details that the landlord might smoke. The landlord seemed impatient. This Li reopened the door and looked around like Grandma Lu entered the Grand View garden. Apart from mentioning a couple of sentences about bookshelf, he never talked about the box. Had it not been for his good-looking appearance, he would have been blasted out a long time ago. Where did your box come from? No matter what. I advise you to put it back quickly. The landlord said anxiously. Li Zongkai sat on the sofa and did not respond. He was considering how much the landlord knew about the box. Did you get divorced recently? Instead of talking about the box, he asked the landlord. I still wear a wedding ring until now, are you not reconciled? The landlord nervously covered the ring finger of his left hand. What does it matter to you? The mystery on the bookshelf shouldn't be what you read? The ashtray on the table is often used at first glance, but the smoke stains on your hands do not match this ashtray. Maybe because of the accumulation of love from your lover, you who originally liked ghost and novels, but gradually fell in love with mystery novels, so I didn't throw away mystery novels. Although you smoke, you don't have the habit of smoking often. I think it might be useful to keep the ashtray, so I didn't throw it away. Although the shoe cabinet is very clean, but the number of your shoes is too small. It only occupies less than half of the shoe cabinet, and there is no dust in the free space. You throw a lot of it. For example, he gave it to you. The ones. It's just that you forgot to throw some slippers. Although the color is simpler, they are buy one get one free. Buy a pair of pink ones and get a pair of blue ones. You only throw away the blue ones. Unfortunately, my single dog has a pair of the same style. I bought it from the supermarket downstairs. Li reopened as if he had come to his home, took a cup of hot water from the drinking machine with the kettle, and poured it on himself. The landlord looked incredulous, and he got it all right. "What the are you here for?" Li Zongkai looked solemn, and said solemnly, "Tell me everything you know about the box, it's about human life." The reason why he said so much was to suppress the landlord's psychology, otherwise it would be difficult to explain everything he knew based on the landlord's character. As for the landlord's love story, he doesn't bother to care about it. The landlord took off the mask with a dejected look and slumped on the sofa. Slowly said, "Our community is haunted." "Well, it should be said that only your building is haunted." Li reopened and nodded, "I know." "You know?" the landlord exclaimed and almost bounced off the sofa. When she reopened a rented house for Li at that time, she concealed it in order to rent out the house. "I didn't expect the other party to know. She seemed to have done something wrong." Yu read www.yuyuganshu.com with a guilty look at Li Zongkai, and continued, "Some time ago, about a few weeks ago, someone committed suicide in that building. And the residents all said there were ghosts in that building, and they couldn't sleep well at night. My husband usually reads mystery novels, and he doesn't believe in ghosts at all. Seeing that the residents have to check out, he decided to try the law. Go live for one night in person to dispel the doubts of the tenants." Hearing this, Li regained his interest, and slowly sat up straight. He probably already guessed the fate of the landlord's husband. "Then what?" "Then my husband, nothing happened. NS. Why don't you talk about wool?" Li Zongkai is speechless. "Are you putting it here?" The landlord quickly said, "Listen to me. The residents don't eat my husband's suit at all, they still check out one after another. And after coming back from there, my husband looked like a different person. After coming back, he didn't even read mystery novels. He watched horror-type live broadcasts every day, and he clamored to divorce me every day. I feel like he is possessed by something, and he is chanting Watt box every day. Later we separated." The landlord lowered his head and said in a low voice, "But I found the box," he said. "Is it this thing?" Li Zongkai threw this mysterious little box into the air. The landlord was shocked when he saw the box being thrown around by Li reopened it. Li reopened and asked, "Where did you find it?" "It's in the basement of the house. It seems to be passed down by an old man in a tenant's house. It fell over there and forgot to take it away." "The basement? Is it surrounded by a bunch of charms?" Li Zongkai asked the landlord. The landlord smiled shyly and rubbed his hands. "Well, I actually posted those spells. Because after I got the box, I couldn't open it anyhow, I felt that something terrible must be sealed in it." The landlord recalled the box with a look of panic. At that time, she tried many methods and couldn't open the box. Even the chainsaw was on but still couldn't open. This scared her. So she firmly believes that something evil must be sealed inside, such as Big Demon King Piccolo. "No, there is nothing in it, just a mediocre method of cultivating immortals." Li Zongkai complained silently in his heart. The landlord quickly went on to say, "So I bought some charms from the internet, and then according to the formation map in the book, I set it up by myself. That's it, then I will go to the basement and put this box over there." "Good fellow, you did it yourself." Li Zongkai couldn't help but complain. "I really thought there was a mystery in it. After I finished the formation, sure enough, our building would not cause trouble." The landlord said confidently, patted his chest. "No, I think it might have nothing to do with your formation." But now Li Zongkai knows why the landlord was so strange that day. At that time, she should have gone to the basement over there early in the morning to see if there were any accidents in the box. It turned out that the box was gone. At that time, the box should have been taken away by Shen Lingzin, and then searched away by the murderer that night. Maybe she thought it was the contents of the box that broke the seal she placed. Then hurried upstairs, took the key and started rounds. See if anyone has an accident. It turned out that someone really died in the house. It is estimated that she was convinced of these gods and ghosts at that time, and then she called the police. That's why she had a guilty conscience at the time, and anxiously wanted to shirk responsibility, showing that the corpse had nothing to do with her. As for why the landlord put the blame on him, Li Zongkai said that he had no expectations of the landlord's character. After all, people who would conceal tenants even if something happened in the house, it would be nice to call the police if they saw the dead body. If it weren't for the cheap house, Li Zongkai would have checked out and looked for another one. Li reopened and thought about it. You didn't tell your husband about this box. The landlord looked around and whispered, actually, I don't trust my husband. I don't think he is him anymore. How do you say? Li Zongkai was a little curious. He has lost many of his habits. The most important thing is, he has some habits like the tenant who committed suicide. He has become smooth and social. Although we are rich, he still chooses to go to work every day, and he never tells others that he is a charter company. Before that, he always went to the company early and worked hard. But after that, he got stuck at work several times and was almost late every day. I didn't worry at first, I just thought he was tired, but later when he proposed to separate, I realized that he was not the same as before. The landlord said lonely. Li reopened and pondered for a while. He actually didn't really believe in things like ghosts and gods. Especially this kind of thing. Is too fantasy. But Li Zongkai glanced at the small box in his hand, which contained the cultivation technique. Hiss, that said, it seems reasonable to seize the house. Oh, yes. Where's your kid? Where did you go? Li Zongkai took the hot water on the table and took a sip. How do you know that I have children? Is this your reasoning again? The landlord was completely shocked this time. She didn't expect that Li Zongkai could even reason about this. Li reopened and sipped tea in silence, looking at the screensaver of the landlord's mobile phone on the table. Is a picture of her with a child on the screensaver. Forget it, I still don't say it. Silently force this to be installed. The landlord glanced at Li Zongkai in fear, and said, I didn't have a good relationship with my husband some time ago and feared that it might affect the child. So he sent the child back to her grandma. Now the child is brought by her grandma. Li reopened and nodded. He asked, what is the child's name? The last name is Lu, and his name is Lu Enchen. The name is nice. Li reopened and stood up. He was already planning to leave. He can be considered a little eye-catching about this, but there are some points that are a little unclear. But it doesn't hurt. Li reopened and was about to leave, but suddenly thought of something, and said to the landlord, you only need to read mystery novels, but don't reason. Your reasoning level is really bad. September 6th. Xingfu Street Office Building, Taiping District. Old Lu. Why have been watching horror live broadcasts recently? Where's your mystery novel? Sister Zhao asked curiously. A cook who doesn't look at the recipe and looks at the art of war. Can't this be a good question? Hurt. It's such a thing, my daughter-in-law loves to read horror novels, reading www.yuyuganshu.com, don't I cultivate a common language? Brother Lu smiled wryly. Okay. Sister Zhao gave a thumbs up, I didn't expect you to be quite Gujia. Hey. Brother Lu smiled twice, and then asked, do you know why you didn't come to work after reopening today? After Sister Zhao heard this, she was a little confused and put down her work. Today, Li Zongkai did not come, which caused her work to increase suddenly. She has no time to fish and play games now. Asked suspiciously, I don't know, why are you clear? Brother Lu smiled slightly, put down the cell phone that was playing the replay of the horror anchor in his hand, and said to Sister Zhao, I heard that Li Zongkai left a few days ago. Maybe, he won't come anymore. Ah, What can I do about this? Sister Zhao panicked suddenly. So to say, does she have to do so much work every day from now on? Help! If it's okay before, there is still Brother Lu to help her share the burden, but recently I don't know what's wrong. Brother Lu seems to have gotten the hang of it. Fishing every day is too much than her. The work of their group has always been done by Li Zongkai. Now Li reopened the big boss and left, it's over. The only salted fish in this group of officers is her. You still laugh? Can you smile? Once he leaves, who will do the work of our team? Sister Zhao glanced at Brother Lu viciously. Brother Lu spread his hands, expressing that there is nothing he can do. He leaned back, leaned on the ergonomic chair, and slowly narrowed his eyes. After tonight, he is no longer immortal. Why bother with these tasks that are not under his control? And the mobile phone on the table is playing Shen Lingzhen's live broadcast yesterday.